Hi everybody and welcome back. It is a beautiful spring day, and what I love about my area in Connecticut is the beautiful magnolia trees that are blooming right now. And they seem to be so short-lived. They're so gorgeous, and I feel like they only last a few days, possibly a week, before all those beautiful petals fall to the ground and the leaves finally come out. And what I'm doing here is I found this image on Raw Pixels, and I've taken hundreds of pictures of magnolias. You'd think I would use one of my own. But I saw this one on Raw Pixel, and it was free to use, Creative Commons license. So I put this here, and I drew it in with a watercolor pencil that was a pink tone. And I like to do that sometimes because if it shows, then it's not going to make a really big difference. The colors I used are Daniel Smith watercolors, Cadmium Yellow Medium, Verditer Blue, Opera Pink, Quinacridone Rose and Purple, and a Burnt Umber. And you really don't need to use these colors. Use something similar if you have, like a alizarin crimson. Try to find a nice pink color though, because the pink is quite bright and beautiful. But please just use whatever colors that you have. We're going to mix our green with the blue and the yellow later on. And what I'm doing here is I'm using a small brush, and my watercolor pad is a 7 by 9, I believe, and it is a premium watercolor block, and it's cold pressed. And what I did was I literally put a water wash around all of my petals here. I made it right up to the edge of the petals, and I pushed the water out, and I kept it pretty wet so I could just drop in my colors. So I'm dropping in the Verditer Blue, and I'm just dropping in some green that I mixed up with the yellow and the blue. I'm just trying to make it look like the background is blurry, like you're looking at the sky and possibly some branches from the tree itself. So of course I got a little bit of water inside my petal, and I wanted to dry it up a little bit. And I'm trying to keep the perimeter as wet as possible so I can drop in that color and it will bleed and just make those beautiful watercolor effects that we love so much. And so I'm just going to continue doing this, and you're going to let this completely dry before we start even thinking about painting in the petals in themselves. So I really don't think that my background is completely dry, so I'm going to just go ahead and start working on the pistil part of the flower. The pistil part is the part that holds the stamens, the ovary, and everything that needs to be pollinated by the plant. And so I'm just going to drop in my yellow, and not, it doesn't have to be perfect, but we're going to glaze over this later. So I dropped in the yellow, and then we're going to just drop in a little bit of that pink and let it blend in, because our light source is coming on this flower from the top left corner. So we're just going to try to just drop in some color there so it blends in, and we're going to do some glazing on top to add more detail later on. I start painting the petals, the ones that are not near anything I think is wet. So I basically do paint water through the whole petal, and then it's a light pink towards the top, and then you can paint the whole petal a light pink if you like, and then towards the middle where the pistil is, you want to just drop in some more of the pink as a pure pink, so it bleeds up, and you can really help it along to fill in the bottom of that flower petal to create that illusion of it being darker near the bottom, and it just feathers up. Here I added one of those little veins in there while it is slightly wet, and it's going to bleed out, and we can fix it later. We can play with that, and you can see it's already starting to take form. And the thing is with watercolor is, in every painting, everything is shape and form and color and value. And if you get those things right, your painting is going to come out amazing. Just think about the shape, think about where the light source is, think about value scale, is it dark, is it light, and think about color temperature, because that makes a lot of difference in a painting. So anything that is in the cool range will look like it's receding, and anything that is warmer is going to come forward more. Painted in my petal, and I'm dropping in a darker, more condensed color of the same color, and just filling that in and dropping it near the pistil part, near the center of the flower, and then adding my veins. I went back and I added a little bit of the purple to give the illusion of the petal turning a little bit, because we talked about blue or cool colors receding. So that's going to help that petal just turn and look like it's more curved. So we're just going to continue doing this throughout all of our petal shapes. So this petal that I'm working on now probably dried a little bit more, so it's going to look a little bit more harsh, but you can always just add some clear water to the edge of something that you put down to soften it up a little bit. I always think of these little paintings as studies. I never really think of myself doing a finished painting, because especially if I'm showing somebody and teaching like this, I'm showing you basically a study, so you can use this in a more finished painting where you have a whole, branch of flowers and you have a whole composition. And we can talk about composition another day. This is a really nice composition. I think it's going to be a lovely little painting, but basically here on this video, I'm showing you the technique of how to paint the petals and how to get the illusion of the turning of the petals, and just color temperature, and I really want you to have fun and not stress about any of it, because the more you practice, the better you get, the more you understand. Every color is different. Some colors are more transparent, and some colors are more opaque, so when you try to lift it, you may not be able to lift it. If it's a transparent color, you might be able to lift it more. If it is a more opaque and permanent color, you won't be able to lift it as much. So you tend to learn that as you go, and you will find the colors that you think are your favorites. So right here, I put my color down and I lifted up some of it because I wanted it to be more bright and more of the paper shining through. So while it's still wet, I'll dab it, or I will add a little bit of water to it and lift it and try to create that illusion of the petal turning. The white part of the petals are really not white at all. Now you want to leave some white of your paper where the light is hitting it directly, but really look at those shapes and see that there's just little marks there, creating that illusion of it being white. I tend to overdo it, so I'm dabbing again, and I'm going to add a little bit, try to gray it down with a little bit more of a mixture there. It's probably going to be, the purple and maybe the blue into it to create that little grayish white color. And it's never really, whites are never really pure white. They're always a mixture of different colors. And as my petals are almost dry, I'm adding more veins because I kind of want to keep them on the soft side. So I feel that this painting, you know, depends on the humidity of the day. It's been raining here a lot, so I feel my watercolor paper has been drying slower than usual. If it was a hot summer's day, your paper is going to dry a lot faster. So, but I wait till my petals are not quite dry, and then I'll just lightly, with a watered down kind of color, I mean my pink is watered down slightly, kind of a tea, and I'm going to drop in with the tip of my brush very lightly those veins back in. And I'm going to always work where I know that the item next to it that you're painting is completely dry. So otherwise, obviously, it's going to bleed into wherever it's wet. It's going to bleed into. So make sure where your next place you're going to work is completely dry next to where you're going to paint. All right, so now I'm going to drop in some of the burnt umber, a very light wash, into the stem area and get that going. And we'll drop some darker colors into it. Probably I'll add the purple and the blue to it to create a darker brown. And the green is just going to be a mix of the blue and the yellow. And you can vary that to get the color that you like. And I feel that when you are working on your painting, sometimes you want to add the darkest darks into your painting kind of early so you can get a sense of how light everything else should be. So it's really hard for me personally to paint something perfectly if I don't understand the darkest darks and the lightest lights value-wise of the painting. Get a good sense of it, and then you'll know where your middle tone should be. So it all comes together. I like to work the whole painting around and not just work from like top to bottom or something like that. I know artists that do work on one petal at a time, and they'll just gradually go out from that. But I like to work the whole painting as a whole. And so now I'm going back to my middle part, and I'm adding some darks there to get an idea. I added some green. The tip of that is green, and then I'm going to add some more orange and just try to define those little stamens in there. And you can draw them in. I'll go in and I'll draw in the orange stamens, and then I'll go back after it dries and do negative painting around them to make them pop even more. As we get to the end of this video, or any painting, we are going to do more detail work. We're going to add in all of our little lines and our veins and just look around to see if you need to darken anything or lighten anything. In the end of this painting, I realized that my value of my flower was very similar to my background. So I decided to go in and re-wet my background and just drop in a lot more blue and create a more darker background so that the flower pops out even more. And these are the decisions you make as you go along in your painting. I hope you enjoyed taking this course with me, this tutorial and all of my tutorials, and follow along with me while I paint. I hope you learn a lot, and I hope that you will like and subscribe to my channel because I love teaching and I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much, and I will see you in the next video.